Roald Dahl, a popular children's author with a dark side. Dahl's own life experiences certainly played a part in the dark nature of his stories. His father and older sister died when he was just 3 years old. He was then sent to boarding school at age 9. The principal's violent beatings made him unable to trust adults. In World War II, he was a pilot in the Royal Air Force. He later worked in intelligence, sharing important information with the British government. These experiences likely helped him write the screenplay for the James Bond film, You Only Live Twice, 1967. When Dahl became a full-time author, he wrote children's stories in a hut in his back garden. The story of James and the Giant Peach came from tales he created in his imagination to tell his children. Dahl's family life was far from perfect, though. He cheated on his wife, American actress Patricia Neal, causing her to call him Roald the Rotten. They lost a daughter to illness, and their only son suffered brain damage in an accident. His wife experienced several strokes and had difficulty learning to speak again. Dahl used her confused and jumbled words as an inspiration for Gobblefunk.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Jacqueline.
And today we're learning about Roald Dahl and how he's a great children's author. And he made a lot of great stories for us, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, Fantastic Mr. Fox, The Witches, all of these which are now movies for you guys to see. So yeah, if you're wondering where did these movies come from? It actually came from the author Roald Dahl.
Wow.
Although he wrote a lot of wonderful children's books, but we still haven't learned why he has a dark side. So I think we're going to learn more about this in today's article. Are you ready to find out?
Yeah, I'm actually very curious.
I'm curious, but I also don't want to ruin the images
you have for him.
All right, well, let's take a look. The article first starts off with, Dahl's own life experiences certainly played a part in the dark nature of his stories. Okay. It starts off pretty strong, I think, in the article. Play a part in this phrase means to make a contribution to a situation or to be involved in something. So, for example, maybe we can say sometimes luck can play a part in success. Or something more realistic is every student played a part in organizing the Halloween fair.
So play a part in something 就是在某事里面扮演什么角色，或你在某事里面扮演你又起了什么作用。那么达尔的生活经历呢，确实影响了故事里黑色幽默的本质。
All right, so here it says his father and older sister died when he was just 3 years old. He was then sent to boarding school at age 9.
That's kind of sad.
That's very traumatic for a young boy, I think. So, yeah, maybe this is a part of where the dark side comes in from. Interesting.
真的，所以他3岁的时候，爸爸跟姐姐就过世了。然后他9岁就被送去 boarding school， 就是寄宿学校。
Yeah, that's a really young age to go to boarding school. And then he wouldn't be able to see his parents all the time. And first of all, his father's not around. So I can imagine it being very traumatic. Oh, but here this is where it takes a dark turn. It says the principal's violent beatings made him unable to trust adults. Oh, this is really bad.
Yeah.
Okay, because this adjective means there's a lot of physical force used, usually meant to hurt or even kill somebody. Even for example, some video games like those shooter games, CS, or maybe Minecraft, those games may be considered violent because you have to kind of, although it's not real, it's in a computer game, you have to basically kill your enemies or other people in the game. So those things can be considered as violent. Or sometimes horror movies, scary movies, right? They can be quite violent because there might be serial killers and then they might come and chase after innocent people. Those we can also describe as being violent. We can use violent in a sentence like this. The protests were peaceful in the beginning, but then slowly turned violent as more angry crowds joined.
So violent 这边是形容词，是暴力的意思。你常常看电影呢，会有暴力的画面，英文就是 violent scenes。比如说 The film contains some violent scenes that may be disturbing to some viewers. 可能对某些人来讲，你会觉得看了会不舒服。那么它的名词是什么呢？就是 violence。所以他那时候 boarding school 的校长的体罚是很暴力的，就让他对这个大人失去了信任。
Poor thing. Next, it says here, in World War II, he was a pilot in the Royal Air Force. He later worked in intelligence, sharing important information with the British government. Okay. I think I read that somewhere about his life too.
Okay.
So that's why sometimes he wrote stories about I think he also wrote a story about his experience as being a pilot in the Royal Air Force. But yeah, the Royal Air Force is basically like our like Navy people. I think that's different. But people who fly in the sky. I think they're Navy. I'm not sure. I don't want to say the wrong thing. But anyways, he later worked in intelligence, which is it's a secret information that is collected about a foreign country, especially one that is an enemy. So yeah, or it can be the people that collect this information. Okay, so he's kind of like a spy, like James Bond. So you can also think about like the FBI or maybe the KGB or MI6. Those people, they're like spies. They try their best to find information about the enemy or about enemy countries.
所以呢intelligence 这边是情报机构的意思。所以呢，他在2次世界大战期间有担任过英国皇家空军的飞行员，后来就在情报部门工作，负责跟英国政府提供重要的资讯。
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. Here the article says these experiences likely helped him write the screenplay for, the James Bond film, You Only Live Twice, 1967. So yeah, because he worked in intelligence, he was a spy. So it's perfect for him to be a part of the James Bond screenplay. Now, a screenplay is basically words written for a film together with how it is to be acted or filmed. So you have like the little notes of like, in an angry voice, blah, blah, blah has to say something. So he wrote You Only Live Twice. So if you've watched that James Bond movie before, Roald Dahl was a part of it as well.
Screenplay 就是电影剧本，所以其实他还蛮痛苦的，他的过去。所以这些经历呢，可能也是帮他在情报工作的经历，也可能帮助他写出 James Bond 演的雷霆谷在1967年这部电影的剧本。
I love that. Next it says, when Dahl became a full-time author, he wrote children's stories in a hut in his back garden. So after his time in the Royal Air Force, he, of course, he basically got out of it. There wasn't any war anymore, so he became an author. So he started to write all these wonderful children's stories in a hut. A hut is a noun. It's basically a small but simply built house or shelter. So it's not a big fancy mansion. It's basically like maybe a small little shelter or a little house. And it's just a place for you to sleep. And there's nothing really fancy inside. You don't have a living room. You don't have a study room. You don't have 5 floors. Aww. It's just one simple little house, basically. Yeah. So, for example, we can use hut in a sentence like this. We wanted to listen to the sound of the waves on the beach, so we booked a hut to stay in.
So, hut 就是简陋的小屋。所以比如说 they spend the night in a small hut by the lake. 他们在湖边就待在这个小屋里面。后来呢，他就成为了这个全职的作家，就在自己自家花园里的小屋里面写童书，并不是什么很大间的房子哦。
Yeah, that sounds actually quite relaxing, I think. A good space for him to write. And here it says the story of James and the Giant Peach came from tales he created in his imagination to tell his children. Okay. So imagination here is a noun and it means the ability to create pictures in your mind. It is the part of your mind that does this. So yeah, I think as kids, we love to pretend that, we were maybe like pirates or we were like fighters or we were having a tea party, things like that. That's a part of our imagination. For example, we can say the children's imagination ran wild the more they played together.
Imagination 就是想象力哦，它的动词是 imagine， 所以 imagine doing something 就是想象你自己做什么。比如说 he often imagines traveling the world and experiencing new cultures。所以飞天巨桃历险记的灵感是来自于他原本为孩子们编的故事。
That's so fun. Next says here, Dahl's family life was far from perfect though. I think here comes another dark turn. Okay, when something is far from something just means the opposite of something. Like,
oh my goodness.
It's totally opposite of what you think, basically.
Okay, so basically he had a traumatic childhood, and now his family life
is not all sweet, right?
Yeah, so I just feel so bad for him right now.
Like, oh, you got married, you have kids. That should be great, but I think here is
something scary is going to happen.
Yeah, the dark turn comes in.
Okay. So far from 就是远远不，代表说离这个东西还很远，所以 far from perfect 就是跟完美扯不上边，所以达尔的家庭生活是不好的。
Let's see. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Here it says, he cheated on his wife, American actress Patricia Neal, causing her to call him rolled the rotten. Okay, yeah, that is actually quite terrible because when you cheat on someone, it means you have a secret relationship with someone other than your partner. So someone other than your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, or wife. Not a good thing. And so of course, like, his wife Patricia was very angry and she gave him the nickname rolled the rotten. Now, that's actually kind of funny, but rotten here is an adjective and it means, usually we use rotten to describe food or maybe wood, something living that has been decayed and cannot be eaten or used. And here we can also use it to kind of maybe describe someone. And it means that they're very, very bad. Like they're so bad that they're decaying. They cannot be like used or liked anymore. For example, we can say, he was a rotten friend. Not only did he lie, but he tried to steal money from me as well. Totally rotten.
所以 to cheat on someone 就是对伴侣或你的配偶不忠。那么 rotten 就是很恶劣的。不过就像Tiffany 老师刚刚讲的，rotten 我们通常拿来指食物，就是坏掉。比如说 the fruit was left out too long and became rotten 就是烂掉，腐烂到核心，我们也可以拿来形容公司一些丑闻。比如说 the scandal revealed that the company was rotten to the core 代表是腐烂，整个都很烂的意思。所以他曾对他的妻子美国的女演员 Patricia Neal 不忠，所以他老婆呢就把他称为烂人罗德。
That's actually kind of funny in Chinese. Yeah, I think he kind of deserves it then, unfortunately. But yeah, here the article then says they lost the daughter to illness and their only son suffered brain damage in an accident. Wow, that's actually super unfortunate. Yeah. So besides the cheating, like something bad also happened to his children as well.
It's probably karma.
Probably.
Yeah. 所以他们后来呢，他们又失去了因病去世的女儿，所以他们女儿过世了，是因为生病。然后呢，唯一的儿子也在事故中受了脑部损伤。
Next, it says here, his wife experienced several strokes and had difficulty learning to speak again. Okay, when you have a stroke, it's basically when the blood vessels in your body becomes blocked or they burst, and sometimes it causes you to have the loss of ability to move or even to speak. People can recover from strokes depending how serious it is, but then if you have a very bad stroke, it can cause, like, for example, your whole arm to, be unable to move for the long time too.
Stroke 就是中风。所以他妻子呢，还就是经历了很多次的中风，后来讲话就变得很困难。所以这边呢，我们看到今天的 Language in Focus. Let's take a look. OK, 那我们今天的文法呢 Language in Focus 要看到 have difficulty or have a hard time, trouble, problems doing something. 所以呢，我们主词再加上 have a hard time doing something 或 trouble, problems，我们后面的动词是 VING， 刚刚有讲。那我们有时候会搭配有一些 some 搭配 great 非常或 little 几乎没有的这一些字词来修饰程度。所以我们要注意以下几点哦。比如说动名词，你的 VING 前面已经有习惯性被省略的介系词的 in， 所以我们就不用再加其他的介系词了。Difficulty 跟 trouble 在这个句型里面是不可数名词，我们就把它当成单数就好了。所以比如说 She has little difficulty understanding complex math problems， 这边的 in 可以不用加哦。那么 hard time 我们刚刚有讲我们在这个用法里面是可数的，所以就我们要变成 He had a hard time adjusting to the new time zone after the long flight。 那么我们刚刚讲到 problem， 可是 problem 是可以数的耶，所以如果可以数的话，我们就要变成 problems 或者是 a problem。 比如说 she has problems focusing during long meetings. 那当然你改成 she has a problem focusing during long meetings 也是 OK 的。
Yeah, so he not only had a difficult childhood growing up, but in his adult life, you would think that, oh yeah, everything's like going to work out for him, but things didn't go really, as planned or as good. It says here, Dahl used her confused and jumbled words as an inspiration for gobblefunk. Okay, so remember gobblefunk is a made-up language he invented. Now, confused here means complicated and not well organized or explained. Usually just means like you're unable to think clearly or to understand what is happening. And you're always kind of like, huh? Like, what's going on? So we can, for example, say the conflicting instructions created a confused situation for the employees.
So confused 就是混乱的、不易理解的意思，或者是你被谁弄得很混乱也可以。比如说 he was confused by the complex instructions. 那么当然，如果是什么东西让你感到困惑，这个东西我们就要拿 confusing 来形容它。那么 confusion 就是它的名词。
So his wife would use confused and jumbled words. When something is jumbled, it means to mix something together in a confused or untidy way. So for example, if you have a pile of clean clothes and a pile of dirty clothes, but you don't sort it and put it together nicely, we can say, oh, all your clothes are jumbled. You don't know which one is clean, which one is dirty. So he used her language, all these like confused words and these like jumbled words and stuff as an inspiration for gobblefunk. When something is an inspiration, this is a noun, and it means the process that takes place when somebody sees or hears something that causes them to have maybe exciting new ideas or makes them want to create something, especially in art, music, or literature. Yeah, it can also be like this. It can be a person, experience, or place, etc. that gives you new ideas for something you do. For example, we can say, for many young gymnasts, Simone Biles is an inspiration to them.
So inspiration, 这个字是灵感的意思哦。我们从什么地方获得灵感 ？To draw inspiration from something. Inspiration 就是通常是在做艺术的时候很常需要的东西。比如说 he draws inspiration from nature for his artwork. 所以他的灵感是来自于大自然。那么当然它可以分成不同词性的字 inspire 就是动词 inspiring 就是让人家觉得很鼓舞的振奋人心的 inspired 就是你觉得自己充满了灵感的感觉。那么 jumbled 这边是混乱的意思哦。所以其实达尔呢是将他老婆的这个不易理解并且错乱的语词作为 gobblefunk的灵感来源。
So that's where it came from.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that's where we see kind of the dark side of Roald Dahl starts to come in. But yeah, it's quite unfortunate for him that, his children and his wife went through that. But of course, he did something to his wife that hurt her feelings. So like you said, maybe it's a little bit of karma.
Yeah. Maybe. 但是不想错过更多精彩的 English for You 内容，就要赶快订阅我们的 YouTube 频道跟追踪 Facebook page.
And that means it's the end of today's article. So we have our For You chat. It is, do you still like certain books even if their author says or does something you don't agree with? Explain your answer.
Of course. I don't think they're related.
I think so. I think it really depends as well. Like if they're saying something very hurtful or like racial, like prejudice, like if someone's like racially prejudiced, I would probably say I would try not to. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it really depends.
Yeah, it depends on what kinds of things they do. Depends on their behavior.
And what they write in the stories as well. If in their stories you can see that they are, racist or they say like very mean things, and I won't.
Probably.
Want to read
it depends
that,
on what
right?
they actually write, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but I for example for Roald Dahl, I would believe that that is his own personal like family life, what he chooses to do behind his closed doors. That's up to him. If he wants to cheat, that's his problem.
Exactly.
But yeah, and although it's bad, we don't need to be so nosy and be like, oh, like you know what I mean,
right?
Yeah. Anyways, what about you guys? What do you think? Would you read the author's book and still continue reading the author's book, even though you know that author is probably not a very good guy? That's a really difficult question, but that's all the time that we have for today. We still have more on his life, actually. There's a lot more things going on about Roald Dahl's life, so don't forget to stay tuned. To day 3, we have more to share with you. But that's all the time that we have for today, so we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Violent. The boys' argument became violent when one boy hit the other in the face. Hut. During the harvest, people slept in huts near the fields so they could start work earlier. Imagination. With just imagination and a few simple toys, children act out stories when they play. Rotten. David experienced rotten luck all week, from losing his keys to getting caught in the rain. Confused. The drunk man gave a confused account of the accident, leaving the police with more questions than answers. Inspiration. The inspiration behind the painting was the painter's personal experiences growing up in a small town.
智慧小补帖
Intelligence. Screenplay. Stroke. Jumbled.